This is all scanned. All right, so we're here for the workshop to discuss the 40-acre lot on Route 26. We asked Rob Fu, the engineer from Pine Tree Engineering, who's worked with us on several projects. He's also done some site planning in the past. So invited him to kind of talk this through. So the board's thrown around a handful of different ideas of trying to break this up into pieces or sell it all as one big piece. What do we want to hit up the engineer with? Would we like him to maybe throw some ideas at us, or what's the flavor?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, let's get Rob's perspective. I mean, I invited, you guys probably know Troy, some things like this.
He was in Golden Buck Road?
Well, no, I don't think he probably wants to talk about the school district. But that is a thankless job if anybody wants it. He'd probably give it to you. Just from a builder developer's perspective, if we had questions of him, I think he'd be interested if it comes to that at some point.
Who's that?
Troy Ripley,
Oh, yeah.
he'll be here at some point.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I didn't come with any great ideas. I mean, we're here to discuss possible options. I don't know what you're thinking about as a board and how the town might want to pursue this, but just a few things that I would just like to point out to you is if you're thinking about, it's a 40-acre piece, if you're thinking about developing that as one piece, that's simpler, but I don't know if the town, it depends how much you want to become a developer. Being a developer is difficult and costly up front, getting permits and depending on how much you want to put into building a road, for instance, to get into the site and utilities. So some of the things to think about is, for right now you have one lot. Once you create 3 lots, it becomes a legal subdivision. And you need permits. So right off the bat, you can split it in 2, no permits needed, you have 2 lots. The other way you can do it, every 5 years, you can break off a lot and use the term skirt the subdivision rules. There's another way you could approach it if you wanted to think about breaking it into pieces. Because of the size, depending how you lay out all trick out, you would at a minimum need planning board approval for a subdivision. And you very likely would need state DEP approval for a subdivision. And that's a lengthy, expensive permit to get. A lot of upfront requirements. If you chose to develop it on any level, some of the upfront things you're going to need to do is a boundary survey. You're going to have an accurate boundary survey with all your corners pinned so you know where the land is. I took a look at national wetland maps. The front part of that property is forested wetland all along Route 26. So you would have to have the wetlands map. And that's going to become a hurdle for development as well. There's more permitting if there's wetlands involved. And then, of course, you got to think about if you want to, like I mentioned earlier, if you want to do a road or bring sewer and water in. I was not involved in your sewer construction in town, but I do remember when they were going through that area, they had to de-water 24 hours a day because of the high groundwater table over there. And with that forest wetland, that tells you it's wet there as well. So construction costs to get utilities in there, at least at the beginning, off 26 is likely to be expensive. And then you have to think about power, if you wanted to bring in power. I helped Adam, we got 3-phase power into your other industrial park off Park Road. Last couple years ago.
Yeah, a couple years
ago. 3-phase power was actually cheaper than I would have thought. It was about $50,000 to bring that in. But as a developer, there's just a lot of upfront costs you need to be aware of. Then there's the whole design package as well. So if you want to become a developer, those are the things you're going to have to do. I mean, just because the town owns it, you wouldn't be treated any different. Because it's a municipality, you would then become a developer. So just to know that. As far as zoning, I just took a look at it. It's a mixed use zone. Pretty much anything goes out there with the proper permits. Only about 6 things you cannot do out there, and you wouldn't want to do anything over. That's pretty much my little summary. I'm glad to answer any questions or discuss anything else you have in mind.
So you guys have kind of mentioned the idea of trying to get a bunch of, like house lots or multi-unit homes in there. That's something.
Yeah.
That's something, I'm sorry, that's something that you guys have discussed.
Probably seen it, but
Did you have any idea how many multi-unit homes or house lots you were thinking?
300.
As many as we can, right? I mean, at the end of the day.
I really think it depends on if you're keeping a commercial piece on the 26 end.
Sure.
And then how much do you keep for that, and then that stuff, how much a developer, I mean, developer's gonna wanna get as much money as they can, right, for their buck. And I think me personally, for the town, I wanna get as much tax revenue for the town that we can. If you split it in half, and there's 20 acres for homes, and you put 10 2-acre lots in there, with, $300,000 homes is probably a small home at this point. That's quite a big tax chunk. But I don't think we're in the business of trying to be developers. But cognizant of who we might deal with to try to get the most for the town of Oxford.
I mean, the purpose of this is, just to educate ourselves, so, we have someone that knows what is usable, what isn't. My understanding here is the small lot where the Gambrel garage is now is a separate lot already. Am I correct in saying that, because it's outlined in the yellow?
Yes, you're correct.
So really, if to get 2 lots on 26, if that was the goal, and Robert, I would ask you, would you think putting access from 26 out to the back, call it the back parcel, if you will, in your guesstimation, would we be better off putting a right of way in along the property line, or a right of way between the existing lot now and then, creating another? So that would be our first, we'd be able to split this lot, we could break off another 26 lot and still have 3 lots out of it, two 26 lots and a back lot of the acreage out behind it. Would I guess my question is, is that part of the engineering, and just where to put the road, where's the best place to put the right of way to access that?
Yeah, you're right, I would go on the side of that lot that you mentioned, is where the access would be. I mean, basically, you need to develop it as a road for the future, which, according to your ordinance, is a 60-foot right of way for a local road. So, I mean, that's a question, depending on how the deed reads, if that lot is already separate, then that wouldn't be treated as like a subdivision, as I mentioned, breaking it into 3 lots. It's already separate. But there is some legalities about common ownership when lots abut each other. So that's a question, someone would have to answer that question, whether that lot truly is separate.
It is deeded separately.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you see, with the wetland, do you see any issue with the front part of that property where it abuts 26? I mean, do you see that as undevelopable, or?
Yeah, that's where the wetland is.
That's what it was, but
So can we trade that off?
What do you mean by undeveloped? Because, I mean, you can obviously lot on both sides of it. Must have been wetland once upon a time.
I only mean undevelopable right on that footprint.
Yeah.
I mean, you put a road through it.
They'd have to do something, lift it up like.
Yeah, raise it up. I mean, we put roads across wetlands all the time. As far as you need culverts and raise it up, but you need, wetland permits to do that.
Could we build that wetland up and recreate wetland in back, so we had that lot on 26 has more value, right? You see what I'm saying here?
There is ways that you can create wetlands to offset wetlands that you fill, for instance, yes. But it's a ratio, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. We don't do that often, but it's at least a 3-to-1 ratio area-wise. So there are different options in that. I only brought up one, I didn't bring a copy for everyone where the wetland is, but it's basically all across your frontage on 26.
Rough idea how far back that.
Oh, it looks to me 300 feet, maybe 400 feet back. So it seems to me the best use there would be just get a road through there and get to your back lot, if you will. So then, like I mentioned, if you want to run utilities in, it's just, you just have to deal with the groundwater.
So a road 28 just over 28 feet road frontage on Skeet Field. Is that not wide enough to put a town road in there? With setbacks and.
So we were just talking about that before you guys got here, is on here, that was noted as 28 feet wide, but when you look at the scale of the rest of this, it seems awful narrow. I've asked the assessor to reevaluate
Right.
that,
And the copy that Adam sent me, somebody hand wrote 186 feet,
right?
which looks more to the scale.
Yeah.
Because your lot on 26, for instance, they wrote 250 feet. So if you compare the two visually, it's obviously not 28. I can't imagine that's 28.
It doesn't, yeah.
I'm feeling like it's a
128,
typo.
isn't it? Isn't there a one under there, under the ski field?
Well, it looks like Skeet Field's covered
Yeah.
in one.
Well, that very well
I
might be
can't see
right.
that.
Yeah, I bet it's 120.
Yes, it is.
120.
That would make a lot more sense.
That would be much better.
I got you, all
We
right.
can, we can put a road on that.
That's
The
definitely,
road could be put
definitely
on.
put a road on.
And just going back to your talk about how many lots and such, in your mixed-use zone, you can go as low as 15,000 square foot lots if you have public sewer and water. If you have water only, it's 40,000, which is just less than an acre. Without sewer and water, it's 40,000 as well. But if it is wet back there, you're gonna have a hard time getting a septic system, so that's another aspect of this. I don't know how far back from 26 it would be wet.
I think one of the big things that we have talked about is anything being done would be potentially required to hook up to town water, town sewer.
There are some requirements of distance from water to tie in, and obviously on your own behalf, I think you want to tie in those.
Absolutely.
Yeah, ideally, if you build 20, 25, 30 house lots back there, they're all close enough that they have to hook up to the town water and sewer.
But as we ran into when we looked at on Park Road, extending sewer and water out there, even on the short distance of Park Road, that was a $500,000 or more job, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, back to the topic, who's the developer? You know,
Right.
somebody has to pay that upfront cost. And obviously, developers do this all the time. They figure out what it's gonna cost to build the infrastructure. They determine the price of the lots accordingly, so they get their money back in profit.
So, if you don't mind, Troy, being a developer, can we get some input from you?
Yeah, and I've worked on projects that Rob's designed before, so, I mean, he's the right guy to have here. But, I'm doing one on Lloyd's, a piece of property that Lloyd Poland, in Norway, and it turned 26 acres into, 4 developable acres by the time you dealt with floodplain, wetland, resource protection, and a friggin' vernal pool. God, hope you don't have any on these out there. And so, when I looked at this, because I had an interest, in not at $1 million or whatever, Tommy's got to advertise that, but that I think this is a perfect spot for a cluster subdivision or development, Rob, I haven't looked at that ordinance. And so what we did on Norway Lake, on the peninsula, is we put 4 houses on 100 by 100 pockets that they own. And then they're 1/9 of the other 26 acres. Challenge is, if you already have an estimate how much it's gonna cost to get water and sewer in there, you don't build $250,000 houses on property that you got $1 million getting infrastructure. I mean, the first house we did on contract for in negotiations right now it's $1.15 million to get, you gotta get your money back. So I guess my question would be, as far as from a development understanding of the town of Oxford, do you want residential homes for our kids that can't afford to live here right now? A $300,000 house is tough sledding, even when the land price is minimal for the cost of things. So if I gotta put $1 million in it just to get to the center of it, I'm not building a $300,000 house. I'm gonna split it into 4 lots and I'm gonna try to get $1 million a pop for. So I guess, what's your growth plan is what I guess the real question here is. And, and I own some property that I'm not building another thing on it until I get a TIF. Because in that case, on Mocha Court, I'm keeping the building, much like KBS kept their building. So there is the opportunity for them to TIF some money so I could get my infrastructure costs back if Paris comes to their milk on it. If you're gonna split and sell to individuals, I don't know how you would reimburse me for, or a developer, not necessarily me, but any developer for spending that $1 million to get the water, sewer, and road in, and then do you have the ability, and I'm unfamiliar with most of the TIF stuff, can you TIF that first house and that TIF amount that would be on there, the homeowner would pay the full TIF, but the developer would get some of it back in the TIF thing? I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to making it affordable for anybody other than an Amazon or a Walmart or something like that, where they come in, mow it, put a big building up and make a truck garage. So, I think some decisions got to be made up there on what do we see this looking like for the town of Oxford. I kind of answer your question in a lot of words there, is that I'm about return on investment.
Sure.
And I am a for-profit organization.
Sure.
And I would want to come in off, if I had anything to do with it, I would want to come in off the Speedfield Road. I would not want to come in off of Route 26. I would take that 186 feet, I already looked at it, and I'd put a in and a out with some kind of fancy mound in the middle to make it look less than trailer parking, which is right across the road. I think there's tons of potential here, but the numbers got to work.
And that would, if you come in on Skeetfield, that would be a problem for sewer, I assume we wouldn't.
Well, you can bring, I mean, you can bring the sewer or water in from anywhere you want, but I'm saying
He's
access
talking
as
about the
far as
access to the road.
for the people to come in and out.
The residences, so they're not coming off 26.
Yeah, I don't want to come in off of Route 26 with a residential property. I'm coming in on the Hebron Road right now with the one I own, which is a challenge all in itself every day for the people that live there, so.
Do you know of any other towns that have got into doing any of this developing on their own route where you deal with, no? I mean, I'd like to sell a piece of land. I don't know that we're in the development business right now.
I don't know of any towns that tackle.
I mean, I didn't know maybe you'd run into
At most, closest thing would be industrial parks. Sometimes they'll
an
just,
industrial park.
Or
yeah.
neighborhood revitalization kind of.
yeah, but not to start from the fresh, build.
But what are you offering us for, Troy?
Well, Rob, what were the engineering on this? If I put, because I would put 31 houses out there, thereabouts, if they would fit. I'd stuff them all close together and then use the aggregate land as the green space, which is a buzzword everybody loves to hear, but really means it's junk land you can't develop. So I think 30 is the right number out here, density wise. If for on closer together and more green out there. I'd have to get a little bit more serious about giving Mr. Prue $100,000 for engineering.
Yeah, that's the other side of it. As before you came in, I was talking about the need for surveys,
Right.
wetland maps,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, vernal pools.
Oh, yeah, God.
It's just endless hoops as a developer.
Yeah,
Just
I
trying
mean,
to-
without question, there's $175,000 would go real quick, just to find out what you could do with it, I think.
Would you recommend us having that cut, or would you leave it alone?
The property?
Hmm.
I'm not a real estate agent, but to me, if you can make it a little more presentable looking.
Well, I mean, I think that was
right
the
now,
general consensus.
If
of
you
the
drive
board.
by 26, it's nondescript.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you at least cleared an opening where people could look in there and if you had a for sale sign, to me, that'd be a little more attractive. And then, of course, on Speedfield Road, you could do something.
It's gonna be open because we already approved it.
But if you go in and mow it, I mean, I personally don't care that it's mowed in the sense that I would use landscaping. There was, some numbers in there to replant trees, and it's just pine trees mostly out there. It's
It's
nothing,
low scrub.
nobody's gonna get rich cutting it. But I don't think it makes it any more attractive to a developer, whether that be a Amazon or a Walmart or a residential guy, whether that's cut or not, other than, to your point, you can at least drive in and see something that's out there, get off the street in your vehicle, kind of thing. But
If you're looking at this map, you both got the map. The elbow that sticks out towards 26.
Oh, this one, yeah.
I would cut that straight across and leave it on 26.
That's what I was thinking, if you cut that straight across.
Straight across and just give it with the 26
And then
line.
whatever's out here,
It is what it is.
if they can build something there, great, that's good Route 26 frontage.
Right, that's what you want your commercial.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I thought we just decided that was wet.
It is wet, so yeah, you're not gonna do a whole lot with it by itself. That lot, that standalone lot, looks like it wouldn't be as wet, at least according to the wetland map I'm looking at.
But just like the Rusty Lantern, I'm assuming that's why they had to raise.
Exactly.
Rusty Lantern down there, they raised it up.
Well, that would be every house out there. I wouldn't even dance with a foundation. It would be slab on grade, 4-foot frost walls, single story, 1,800 square feet with 1-car garage.
If you remember before, across the street, before the solar panels went in, that was gonna be a business park.
Yeah,
Until they realized it was standing water.
exactly.
Almost directly across the street from you.
Right.
So same water table.
They could, I mean, somebody could develop it and do something there.
Yeah.
They're just, it's gonna cost them. some
Hang on,
money.
just because I think we're getting mixed signals here. You would have to reestablish some wetlands to do that. In other
Not
words,
necessarily, you can get a permit to fill wetlands.
Okay.
You know, as long as it's not over an acre. If it's over an acre, then
Right.
you're looking at compensation.
Right.
Now, there's 3 different tiers in wetlands, I don't want to bore you with the details, but there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 is up to 15,000, which is a third of an acre. That's the common one.
Right.
That's not that hard to get as a permit. They're always looking for alternative analyses. Well, your alternative is, where else am I gonna go? I wanna build a road in here.
Right.
So when I mentioned the road in there, I'm thinking commercial use, not the residential side of things. I agree with Troy, residential, come off a residential street.
Right.
It's a better way to do that.
So you, Troy, if I understand correctly, you're not interested in having a full-blown road going from 26 to Ski Field?
No,
You really want
no,
to
you,
keep these separate?
anytime you want to develop a neighborhood, you want single way in, single way out. The pass-through neighborhoods are where you get pass-through trouble. And you get, Oxford Street. Well, here's a perfect example. The high school, right, the road, I call that the dump road. I just pass through it all the time. So in a neighborhood, you want a way in and a way out for fire and emergency vehicles, but you do not want to turn it into a pass-through.
You don't want a shortcut.
No, you don't want it to be a shortcut at all.
That's one set.
It's borrowing trouble. And then any new development has single access in, single access out. Not saying that up on the road, you don't have a separate in and a separate out for traffic ease, but they come right together and that. I would not want to pass through.
So like Dana was saying, if we were to cut this front part off, so that then if we did that, if we split it that one way right there, we'd have 2 commercial lots against 26 to sell, and then we'd have a big in the back, big in the back for developers or something to buy in the back. Is that kind of what we're thinking? As a thought?
If you can find a developer that wants that much land to do it.
I think it's open for discussion on somebody like Troy who may want it broken off that way, then yeah, we'd have to consider that offer. If you didn't need that much, I'm still a little concerned that you're not gonna get 2 lots on 26 with that, just, hypothetically running that line across, that property line straight across.
One copy.
I'm afraid you're gonna get one lot out there because it's wet. So you might need a little bit more space. You might need to go 150 feet back and go across, I don't know, like that, I think that's part of the engineering. If we want to invest in some engineering, we had to do a little engineering, to figure out how you get 2 lots on 26, it might just end up being 1 lot out on 26.
She's gonna make copies of the wetland maps, you won't be able to visualize what I'm talking about. Because you're right, that, the small lot probably looks to be pretty developable. The other one, that whole piece that we just talked about carving off, probably all wet.
Right, but if I was gonna do something commercial, the one that is developed, I would develop its entire footprint and then use the other piece of it if I could for, the parking or whatever that might be. I think if it was worth $1 million, or what is it on the market for right now?
1.2.
Yeah, if it was worth that, it would have been sold already. That's the litmus test of that.
So did you bring a check or,
No,
No?
I buy land, so I go in at the insult price.
Excellent.
So what's your insult price?
I think it's 30 acres. If it's developed, I think it's worth 300 grand, 10,000 an acre. If it's, but I would still, before I would say 300 grand, I'd want to do some, to this point, as soon as you hear those fancy words called wetland or vernal pool or, it eats up a lot of land quick that you can't touch. Not only can't you touch it, you can't be within 75 or 100 feet of it. Friggin' salamanders rule this area.
You also have to pull that out of your density.
Yeah, exactly.
See how the house.
It's 250 feet from a vernal pool. That's almost 5 acres.
Welcome to Massachusetts. We don't have any vernal pools out there, trust me.
Well, you know, the good thing is you have to pay an expert like him to come tell you whether you do or not.
Oh, a lot of things, but not that.
So that green shaded area is obviously well.
which is all over the front of it, like you said?
It actually shows a very small pond, really hard to see, but just about where the B is versus PUBHX. A little blue spot right at the B. Apparently some standing water there.
But if you were to cut off that front piece and had it so that there'd be the little lot, and then you'd have a lot shaped like an L behind it almost.
Right.
You know, I don't know if that wetland goes over pretty far, doesn't it?
So Rob, that front piece, looking at this wetland map, there's enough there to do something commercially with, do you still feel?
I don't know, I couldn't say that sitting here today. It's not a very big lot, it's only an acre lot.
What I meant when I said cut it straight across, not where the existing lot is, I would cut it straight, is this AJ's place here?
Yeah.
Straight across with AJ's line.
Yep.
Straight, that's my thoughts of just making it symmetrically in my mind square. I owned there all the way over to there. Kind of. I wouldn't have that, a jog and.
Right.
Just
That's
go
what you're
straight, yeah.
talking. So Ernie, there's not a lot of land. I don't know. I mean, it's talking only an acre lot. And for reference, if you look across the street, you see where the road is and you kind of visualize where this lot stands.
So that-
It looks like it's at least quarter wetland, I guess. Just visually.
So in my mind, that first lot you have with that, that's where that garage is, right? That would expand going backwards.
Right.
So yes, it would be, you're kind of taking the land from over here that's gonna be in the wet and getting it out of what would be behind it.
Directly behind it.
Yeah, directly
appears to
behind
be
it.
dry.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So I guess what I'm saying is though, as far as value, right, from the town's perspective, that's still a valuable lot from where that garage is, straight back.
Behind it, yeah.
And really from there south towards Skiaby Homes is kind of,
But again, the tricky part is subdivision rules. You get the 3 lot thing going. And you're gonna break into a subdivision. So if that's its own lot by itself, that's good. But then if you're gonna take a little piece off like we just talked about, that makes one lot out of that big one. Then you're left with one. But then you've got to subdivide in housing, every house has to have, it's gonna be a subdivision.
Right.
well, where we own both pieces of a butter, if we, hypothetically, if we cut that line off where you're saying, right?
You could do that. You
That
can break into
front-
those two.
Yeah.
Right, those two,
Yep.
could they combine as one? The Gambrel garage piece, right, and then what's remainder that we cut off
You can
forward?
deed property to an abutter and be exempt from subdivision.
Mhm.
That's correct.
If you got, like, I have 10 people in my family, I can deed 10 pieces of property
Right.
with, but you're dancing with, I mean, you wanna do it. I don't think there's any advantage to trying to skirt a rule, to, not necessarily skirt, but go around a rule because it's expeditious versus just doing it right, go through the process at once. You're gonna give, from the big lot, you're gonna give the L to the little lot, that doesn't count as subdivision, you deeded it to an
That's what I
abutter. Even though the abutter is yourself.
You can do that.
Yeah.
That's what I meant, and then in theory, there would only be 2 lots.
That's correct.
The piece say that you buy and
Right,
then.
you still have 2
Then you
lots.
still have the one left, that's your one lot.
Yeah.
Then whoever developed it.
There you
has to down
And that's up
there.
to them.
And that's where the pain is. I mean, not only the rules that you have for your ordinance, but in January, the rules changed to, now if it's over 5 acres, you get into a general permit from the state and, I mean, real quick, 10 grand is nothing to just get started on just the permitting process to then fill out all the work you need to answer the permit requirements. So, there's 200 grand in development to decide, 175,000, 200,000, just into figuring out what you can do with that piece of property, if you're going to subdivide it or develop it in any way, shape, or form.
And from your perspective, if you got to that point, that's when you would decide, well, I got 25 acres I can do. Again, you're gonna get the most bang for your buck. You're gonna do 30 little homes, smaller homes, you're gonna do 8 bigger homes or whatever.
Correct, and the example is the one we did in Norway. We were $1 million into it before we got the first foundation in the ground. The time road, CMP, permits, I use main land development, well, the people that we bought it, they'd already had it half developed. So, and again, it took 26 acres of land and turned it into 5 that you could do something with. Between the requirement, the restrictions, the setbacks, the environmental stuff. And so to say you're gonna put 30 in there, you get Rob's report from him and you got 3.5 acres left that you can do something with, that kind of takes the zeal out of a developer.
You're gonna have to build a
Do
bigger,
something.
more expensive home.
The hotel, whatever, I mean, that's, so it's, and I just intrigued me, but if it's that small town appeal, local people doing things, Jimmy Smith, or, whoever, then you have, the numbers have to work. Or you just default to the Walmarts, the Amazons, the Rusty Lanterns that come in and it just is part of their giant growth matrix. And then, what do you get? What's the end result you're looking for as a town? I guess that would be a better question. And if it's way back in that, I lived on the Smith Road when it was called the Dump Road. That's how long ago I lived there. And the big thing in the town back then was that trailer park next door. And I don't know if I'd want to replicate something like that, but
We'd rather see a village that doesn't allow mobile homes. Me personally, I shouldn't say we, but.
What's the max value for the town, really? I mean, at the end of the day, isn't that what we want? Max value for the town, so.
But I guess my answer would be, what's your mill rate? What's the tax revenue on a $300,000 home with your mill rate?
Well, right now, I mean, that probably bring us to like, what, $3,000 probably.
600.
So 3,600 and you put 30 of them, that's 25 of them out there. How much is that? For life. I've had a real good day
90
with her.
grand,
Huh?
90 grand.
So 90 grand a year for
Yep.
life versus the quick, give me 400, you're never gonna get $1 million, but let's say you get 550,000 for it. You're one and done, what are you gonna do with the 550? And what does that do for?
It depends what they put there, right? I mean, you're talking about putting houses
Yeah.
return, if they put a
Solar farm?
hotel, or they put a small mini mall or something like
Right,
that.
right, so,
Which would be less impact on police and fire and school, and, I mean, I think there's a lot of different,
Right.
things to consider. I mean, ideally, we put 25 people on our wastewater treatment facility, and that would be a constant source of income as well. But, what's the best value? And that's, as a town, I think that's our responsibility, is just to find the best value for the town as far as future income, money that's just gonna continuously come in.
so
It's an investment.
what's 30,000, what's 550,000 divided by 30? Okay, you got a computer.
Or 200,
Huh?
less than 200. 500.
Divided by 550?
So 550,000, say I had 550,000 in development costs. I want to put 30 lots in there, what would that equate to?
18,333.
Okay, so if you can get into a house lot for $25,000 or less, which is, we'd have to do with that number, I think any developer would jump on that. But not at, I just sold a lot for $95,000, You can't build a $300,000 house on a $95,000 house lot. It just doesn't work. So, I guess, what's the growth plan or vision that the town would have? It doesn't have to be me. I mean, there's plenty of guys just like me that got just enough money to stay afloat, and would jump on it, but I think it's a great idea for the town.
Hurdle, I think the big hurdle is the sewer and water line. Somebody's gotta get it out.
Yes.
So whether we invested the money and then raise your price or lower the price, and I don't know if you can require a developer, because if we build house lots out there and it's more than 250 feet from the sewer line, they don't have to attach. And that's the goal if we build anything.
You're gonna have a problem with septics out there.
Oh, I agree.
I think
But somebody's going to have to pay to run that.
one way or another.
Right, and what was that number? That was 500 just for the water and sewer, bro?
Yeah, we don't know.
That was on another development. We had
Yeah, we didn't run it on this one, Troy, but
Yeah.
over on off Park Road.
I mean, I think that's a bit steep. I just did 600 feet and it was, I did 355 feet, 8-inch, and it was $31,000. So whatever that, obviously, if you're gonna keep the houses closed, you run a trunk line in and try to get everybody to either gravity to it or.
You're gonna have to
pump
run
it.
out 1,000 feet, roughly, depending on what you do with that bottom corner that kicks out.
Well, I'm from it, is it your sewer system, doesn't it pull, isn't it, it's not all gravity feed, right? So.
The
you
pump
may have
station's
some-
around 26, so it's gravity and then force main combinations.
Yeah, force main, yeah, so what's on Skeetfield Road?
No.
It doesn't make it up that far.
Nothing back
Oh,
there.
so you just ran the water to the Skeetfield Road, or
Right,
to the
yeah.
trailer park?
Yeah, the trailer park has the water, but the sewer doesn't quite get there.
Does the water go by that frontage?
The water line does, because the trailer park's right there.
Right.
Right. Oh, I
So
thought
if we
you
did
ran
the sewer,
sewer.
it's gonna come in from Tony's Gut.
Right.
All right, so you, depending on your rise in elevation, or if you put a pump station's 130 grand just for the pump that's in, so.
And
That's
assume that's,
another whole factor. You have to look at the topography.
Right.
Can you even get it, how deep is the sewer in 26?
Right.
Can we get there, or do we have to pump to it? It's a lot to this. Can't just sit here today and say this, that, and the other thing.
So just a couple quick highlights real quick. I talked to a developer this week. These were some of the things they brought up. One, they like the attraction as far as town utilities being available. One thing that they would ask if they were to ever proceed, there's completely preliminary, is if the town would be willing to do some sort of a TIF district or a credit enhancement. They would be looking at 5 buildings is typically the minimum that they build, with 12 units in each building. And then they would want they would do it, but they would want to do a market analysis as far as what the demand is.
5 apartment buildings.
With 12 units in each one. Yeah, and they don't do anything above 2-bedroom apartments. They do 1 and 2-bedroom apartments, that's it.
So you put 70, and again, do you want that to be the modern day version of the trailer park, which is rental apartments out there? Is that what your vision is for the town? We have, in Paris, we have enough of the rental projects that, and never use the word subsidized housing, that's my opinion. Because it just
You wanna be
brings.
politically correct, right, Croy?
Yeah, I am, because I'm also on the school board, so. But yeah, you attract, that neighborhood is going to attract whatever atmosphere you let it develop at. And if it's single family homes, smaller, where the younger people starting out can afford it, or the older people retiring can afford it, is hugely different than people, us, say us, that they're in the middle. I can afford a $700,000 house. I don't want one, but, the least I rent an apartment for, a one bedroom, half the size of this room right here, is $1,350 a month. So it's what is that vision you're looking for the neighborhood? And any developer will accommodate to whatever that vision is. If it's 5 90-unit buildings, it'll look just like across the street from Home Depot. And somebody's got the money and the financing to do it, but is that what the town of Oxford's looking for? I don't know. That's up to you guys. If it's, my vision is, if you go to wherever, this is my directions, I'm going to Bridgeton on 302, Hancock Lumber's on my left. You take a right where Hannaford is, whatever that road is, you take a left, and Justin MacGyver and his brothers built a development down there that was 2-bedroom homes, 28 by 32s, 1-car garage, that's condominium over there, you know. It's a, you know, it's a phenomenal neighborhood, and it is, he got into the solar and the heat pumps and all that, which is just something but my point is, it's a great little neighborhood with probably 60 or 70 individual housing units on tiny little cul-de-sacs, and I think it's phenomenal, you know. And you can build them in a fashion that somebody that works at the high school or works in your office can afford, as long as that development cost is manageable. That would be what I would think you would want to go for, and it's still a $300,000 house in value, so.
I mean, I don't want to be unrealistic, but I mean, I'm not sad about your comment at the beginning of 300 units, right? I mean, might be a little much, you laugh, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the town, I think the whole area struggles for housing right now, not just Oxford. I'm not, like you said, the young family starting out, you know, they don't have any options right now.
Would either of you agree that we probably should do something sooner or later, because restrictions, nobody's probably coming into office, or nobody's the DEP is worse now than it was even 2.5 years ago. A permit by rule now, which used to take me a day to fill one piece of paper, send it in, and I had 15 days to get back to me, is now 40 days, 20 days, get a notify. It's not gonna get any easier.
And $275 now.
Right. It's not gonna get any easier to develop this, right?
That's correct.
So I feel like it's definitely should get off the pot time, like just like whether we bring the price down to allow a developer to buy it and let them deal with the engineering, or use some of the money we're getting from company streets and have some engineering done, but I think it's time to move it before. It concerns me looking at the wetland map and in vernal pools, and all this was, even just 10 years ago, it wasn't as big of a deal as it is now. And 5 years from now, I think it'll be twice as hard as it is right now. Just my opinion, because it's going that fast.
Permit by rule is a great example. You know, I've been at this for 40 years, and people 20 years ago streamlined that process
Right.
to make it simpler for basic projects.
Right.
My unprofessional, off the record, I think the younger people have come back in and want more control,
Right.
and have gone backwards and making it more cumbersome again. And yeah, permit by rule takes my office 2 days to do a permit by rule. That's what 2 or 3 of us work on. It's ridiculous.
Right.
Troy, would you be open to trying to get more than 30? Up like close to like.
Well,
50,
I think
60?
I did some math in my head, it's 30-ish acres. That an acre density for a family, whether it's, you live in these apartment buildings, you need green space to let, you know, I was 10 years old before I realized my name wasn't Get Outside. You know? And, no, I think that's the right number. I think an acre per household is available. Is a number that I feel comfortable with. I mean, you can get it down to, like you said, 10,000 square feet, or that's what Paris's is on town water and sewer, but that's 100 by 100.
So you can get to 15 here.
Yeah, okay, so.
21 acre lots is a cozy neighborhood.
Yeah, but you won't get it.
They're
You
not-
won't,
Right, you're
Yeah,
not crammed on top of each other, you're close. You
Right.
can see your neighbor there, you can see your neighbor there, but they're not, I can't throw a rock at your house from my house.
well, what I have found is also like, if you go up to Paris Hill, and I don't know which street it is, Tremont or Lincoln, but out, and you drive and the houses are kind of close together, but out behind them is that great big field. That is available for everybody, but nobody uses, kind of a thing. That keeps the sanity of a neighborhood versus I'm looking into Floyd's back window, and I have to park my car in front of your house, your driveway kind of a thing. So I think that the density, which is, I'm sure some college expert could figure out what the right number is as far as per square foot per person, but I think the 1 acre is kind of a number that I've always found works, and even if it's available and you don't use it. And plus you're gonna get into with wetlands and the topography out there, you're not gonna be able to break it into 31 acre squares. That's what, in Norway is the perfect, I'll bring up that subdivision if you, and show you what we had to do. But when you tell somebody, yeah, it's a 26 acre piece of land, and all you have to worry about is your 100 by 100 versus it's marketing, so, and the house is going,
There's some value, right? So there's value in, sometimes less is more, right? I mean, what we're trading off, and I think you're probably leaning towards like, the more, I'm a big proponent of getting people on our wastewater treatment line, because it's, right now, it's a black hole of money, it's funneling money into it, but the property value might offset what we're not getting in revenue for the wastewater treatment facility, because the property value will be higher with 1 acre lot versus so many thousand square foot lot, I would assume.
But I'm a fan of the cluster because if I have to run 80 feet of sewer pipe and 10 people can hook onto it versus 1,000 feet of sewer pipe that 10 people have, again, it all gets back to that math that's.
I mean, at the end of the day, I know we've talked about a lot of things. I'm not opposed to that scenario because one, everything checks the boxes that I feel like we're trying to do. We have revenue coming in from the sale of the land, we have more tax revenue coming in, and we have users hooking up to the town wastewater plant, right? Whether it's 30, whether it's 300, whatever, right? If it's moving the town in a good direction and we need housing, whether it's 30 or whatever the number is, it's still a win for the town. So I'm not gonna get hung up on a particular number if we want to go that type of direction.
Yeah, I don't know that we can, unless we're gonna try to dictate what a developer's gonna do.
Right, you have to put terms in the sale.
Yeah.
If you wanna sell it, then
We
you
wanna
must
get the
terms.
most we can for the town. The
Sure.
developer's gonna wanna get the biggest return on their investment.
Yeah.
And in the end, both win if it all goes well.
Well, that's it, and there's gonna be reciprocal effects, that as we get people to move to town, there's gonna be more companies that are interested in coming, because there's more people around for jobs.
Yeah. And I'm with you, the apartments scare me, that size apartments now, whether you're talking about putting in 30,
300.
well, so sure, 10, 30 home units, and you're not gonna be able to dictate what kind of apartments those are, and, you're bringing in 300 low-income subsidized apartments from Lewiston. I don't think that's what anybody was looking for.
You clown around in a nonprofit budget too. Then you go from getting nothing to getting nothing and requiring everything that comes along with.
Getting that.
I think there's a great opportunity here, and then I kind of like what Phil said, if you preliminary, what would Rob charge you for one over the world topo and survey of what's out there? And when's the vernal pool? That's in May, right? Coming up. April. If you can't find there's a window that you have to, and I know this from the school construction, there's only a window that you can decide whether there's salamanders fornicating or not. And if not, you have to wait till the next year to do it. And if you're over so many acres, you have to do that study. So But if I were to buy in, or a developer, not just me, knowing that what he had out, or she had out there in front of them, it would make it more attractive. But if it's just take it or leave it, then my take it number is down here. So, and anybody's gonna be like that, Dale, Vero, Milo, any of them guys,
So
they're
is
gonna.
this something that we could have the land tested for a vernal pool?
You could have a survey done for vernal pool, you could have a wetland survey, you could do a boundary survey.
Estimate cost on to do that.
Not to put you on the
And
spot.
how long is that
Yeah,
good?
well, I don't do that stuff, but,
Sebago does, right? Sebago, don't they?
yeah, I don't know, $5,000?
Yeah, and that, Mainland did the one that we had, so, but it's a vernal pool expert, whatever that, it's some qualifications.
It's not huge money, but
Right.
it is money.
Right.
And the wetlands would have to be flagged and then surveyed in order to create a map. If you wanna actually create a plan, you gotta do a boundary survey, topo surveys, and then they can do the wetlands and the vernal pool with GPS coordinates, but it's all gonna be tied together with my survey. So we're back to that upfront cost.
Yeah, how much wood's on it? Somebody should,
15 grand was a lump sum price we agreed on.
I think, I'd take that 15 grand and that you're gonna be, not gonna be a lot of spending money left over.
So if that's something that we do all those surveys and stuff, how long is that good for? We do a vernal
Ever,
pool
pretty much ever.
forever.
Right. Then you challenge it, like I think my vernal pool with salamanders have moved to Florida, and if I wanna take it from a tier, I wanna make it a smaller one, I can do that. I just have to have another study done to where instead of having a 250-foot setback, it has I think the next one down's 100 or
Yeah,
something.
if you prove something changed.
Right,
that's different.
right,
But
right.
generally speaking, things don't change like
Right.
that. What changes is the rules and regulations.
Yeah. That's what, I mean, if I would recoup my cost of a survey, if I owned this right now, I would cut the wood off of it and take that money and dump it into the survey and the two studies that you gotta have if you're gonna sell it as a big
But
piece
again,
of
the
rock.
developers coming in very low end, if you don't wanna buy that land and find out only
Oh.
10% of it's developable.
And I'm not being smart, but didn't Walmart, they find an Indian burial ground up there or something? Okay, what's that? What does that even mean? You know? So,
And we ran into that when we were dealing with the Lomesville Dam stuff, we ran into that,
yeah,
so I
But
mean,
if we could show a developer or
here's what you have.
purchaser that, there's no vernal pools. This is your wetland that you've gotta work around. This is how much of that chunk you have. You know now buying it, that you have 25 out of the 30 acres that you can develop.
Bingo. And then,
That-
right, and then here's our subdivision ordinance, and this is what you can do and not do with it. And the thing about the subdivision ones, when you get into the clusters, you don't have to have, what's your road frontage requirement in Oxford?
I don't know off the top of my head, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, maybe by any chance.
It depends, anywhere from 100 to 200.
I was gonna say,
Right.
it's 200 for a house, but for subdivision.
Yeah, the-
Minimum road frontage with water and or sewer is 100, without water is 200.
Right, so I would want to, if I would want you to give me credit for the 100 and, what's this long leg in there, how many feet?
630.
600 and, so 632 feet on in, and 632 feet out. I would want credit for 1,200 feet of road frontage in there. So that'd be 12 houses. That makes sense? I don't, but now in the cul-de-sac, I've lived down south too, let me tell you, that you're in a cul-de-sac, my driveway goes to Floyd's, my driveway goes to K, but my road credit is on the way in or the way out. And does your subdivision ordinance have, or does your planning board have the option to do stuff like that without town votes and,
When you say credit, do you mean like a credit enhancement agreement with a tip?
no, I mean, if I want to put 6 houses in there and by math, I need 60,000 square feet and 600 feet of road, I got it all, it's all here somewhere, but I'm just stuffing the houses together over here.
Oh, cluster.
Cluster.
Yeah,
development.
I'm tracking with
Yeah,
you,
yeah, that's, Paris has a cluster subdivision, so. And then part of doing the cluster was so that you leave more undeveloped space in the area. Green space used to be the buzzword of all the subdivisions, so.
So, just as a thought, I mean, we're talking, we talked about like, it's gonna get cut. We're gonna get that money from cutting it. And then if we looked at, you know, splitting off that front piece towards 26, that L shape, we can market that separately. We can just market that separately out there. And then hopefully, maybe if we price it right, we could sell those, you know, that frontage out there, which then we would maybe be able to turn around and start investing in the back piece to do some of these studies and so forth and really maybe get more bang for our buck. But I also agree with you, Bill, and what you said earlier. Regulations are changing. We don't know what the economy is going to do in a couple of years. If we sit on this too long, both regulations and the economy could change the whole entire picture, I think.
I'm up for that, and the only other thing I would add is it needs to be deeded right away, because we gotta get the sewer out to that potential development in the back. So whatever we do with the front lot, it has to be, either we need to put it in, or we need to have it deeded right away, so they can run town sewer out there.
Yeah, utility easement.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
That has, I won't vote for it to move forward if we don't require it.
What comes down to one or the other, like, again, they want it, like, it's gonna be easier to,
It would be foolish if
Right.
it didn't, I'm just saying.
somebody just has to foot the bill, either the bill comes off the sale price or the.
And that's kind of a trade-off. I haven't put a leach field in this year that was less than $7,000. So you can get a lot of pipe in the ground for $7,000 a pop. So, I mean, I don't know if Paris's water and sewer fees are pretty, I think $3,000 a quarter for Coca-Cola. That's just the basic rate. So people bellyache about that, but when you're putting in a $7,000 leach field that's only has a shelf life of 15 to 20 years, the math actually is more advantageous to be hooked to water and sewer at. I think we pay $276 a quarter for what, that's for the 1,200 feet or the minimum charge.
Adam, can we reach an agreement tonight that maybe we could ask Rob to, so we have some money in hand here to work with, because we're gonna cut it, we agreed to a lump sum, I think it was $15,000.
It's 18, yes, yep.
Yeah, so if, try to get on the schedule and have it surveyed.
Should we ask for cost of it?
I think we should.
Ask for the cost of what we need to get done, right? Like you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't want
And
to.
like I said, it's really not me. I don't do survey, I don't do wetlands, I don't do vernal pools, so.
Well, what do you do?
I was just gonna say that, but I was like,
I do municipal work, not private work.
So, Adam?
Yes.
But as a municipality, we could request to do a vernal pool.
I could manage it if you want me to for you and get,
Whoever's,
I know other companies who do this stuff.
A lot of times we'll use Rob as more like a project manager.
I'd be glad to do that. I'd be glad to I can solicit quotes for what you need and do that for you if you want me to.
well, it's because that's what I was going, you must be held to some, any service over X amount of bid has to go out to, over X amount of cost has to go out to bid, right? So.
Correct.
Yeah, so you're good. But if you got $15,000, and that was just a number you said, to figure out what to do with, I would put it into figuring out how I could maximize the attractiveness of this piece of property.
everything I heard, survey.
Yeah.
The vernal pool and the wetland study.
Yeah.
We should do before we put that out.
We should do
I
it
think it
tomorrow.
puts you in a good place,
Yeah.
much like Troy said, because that answers those questions. Takes away those questions for anyone else to buy it. They'll kind of know what they're getting into.
Right.
So you're gonna spend money up front. In theory, it increases the value of the property. I'm not a realtor. Real estate's a lot about timing, but
Because whoever buys it's gonna deal with Gary Smith and those neighbors there that have enjoyed it being exactly like it's been for 40 years, and what are you putting out back? Go-kart tracks, that kind of stuff, so you have the planning board piece of it to deal with next, whoever buys it. So,
Yeah, can we move forward? I mean,
So we can't take any action during the work session.
Right.
It's not on the agenda tonight, but
Nope, I did. I left an agenda item on there tonight,
so we can take action
thinking you might want to do that.
during the meeting. Just not right now.
thank you. leave that on that.
Well, this is exactly what the school had to do with whether or not the bus garage is a good idea. You have to spend money to know if you want to spend more money, okay? And you're gonna take 15 grand to find out what the real value of this is. I think it's smart business, even if it's, quote, tax dollars that you're dealing with. It's absolutely the way to go, from my belief in the municipal, good stewards of the money.
It was gonna come out one way or the other. That money's gonna get spent whether we take it off the price or we
Right.
spend it and put it back on the price.
Okay, right, because I would say, wait a minute, if I gotta spend 80 grand for a survey, blah, blah, but guess what I'm deducting from your asking price? And all of that, so.
Well, I think, I'm just throwing another angle at this, is that if we, because I agree with everything that you're saying, because I think then we can value it more, you know, because we have, the proof is in the pudding, right? I mean, that's what you as a developer, you wanna
Yeah.
see, well, I know without spending any money that I can do these different things theoretically, right? But, you know, at the same time, how much money do we wanna put in this? How much do we actually wanna get involved in
Well,
doing
should we
this?
get a price on what it would do to the basic studies? Let's get the price first, and then I mean, I don't know if you can really vote on doing all that tonight, you do, we can vote on that we wanna move forward with doing that, I don't think you can vote on an open checkbook.
Do we allow up to 18,000 to be spent instead of dragging it out for another
Just see what
meeting?
the cost is.
Well, that's what I don't want to get too much, but I would say, vote on having Rob find out how much that's gonna cost.
We're talking 15, it could be 30, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Let's get some numbers. We can improve them quick, as quick as we get them. Any other questions, comments?
I'm good.
Good. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you both.
I bought 2 pieces of pizza, but I ate them both on the way in. Figured you would.
Well, we, looks like we've got what, 20 minutes, I can't see from this angle.
Thank you, Troy.
Hey, thanks, guys, thanks.
Thank you. Give about 20 minutes for the selectmen's meeting starts. Rob will be staying so he can go over the bid to be received too.